Senate Foreign Relations Committee, where he was queried by the likes of Ted Cruz and Rand Paul on a range of topics. Ted Cruz inquiring as to the reports that the Biden administration was providing the names of Americans who wanted out, who the U.S. was trying to get out, to the Taliban, that exchange.
Now, abandoning Bagram wasn't your call. It was the Pentagon's and the White House's ultimately. But I want to ask you flat out, did the State Department give the Taliban a list or multiple lists of Americans and or Afghans that we wanted out?
Those reports and the idea that we would do anything to endanger our citizens or anyone else at a time when we were trying to save their lives is flat out wrong. Let me.
So I just like a yes or no. Did you give them?
Let me be very clear, Senator, if I may, please. Thank you. In limited instances where we were seeking to get a bus or a group of people through a checkpoint, we gave a manifest to the people at the checkpoint to demonstrate that those people were expected.
Roughly how many names were on the list you gave?
Doesn't matter because they all...
Dozens, hundreds, thousands. Give us some order of magnitude.
This happened in a handful of situations where to
Dozens?
get through...
So is it your testimony it wasn't hundreds? I want to understand, did you give them thousands of names?
No, we did not.
Okay, hundreds?
Not going to put a number on it, but it was, again...
Why not? This is a hearing to discover how many names and how many of those individuals you gave the Taliban the name to have been targeted for torture or murder.
Senator, by definition, these were in limited instances with a bus or a group of people to get them through a checkpoint. They got through the checkpoint.
So you did give names, and now we're supposed to believe that the only names you gave are names that were successfully evacuated from Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. I'm going to want more evidence to support that contention, as I think Senator Cruz does. Rand Paul asked after the drone strike in response to holding those who killed 13 of our soldiers at the bombing of the Kabul airport accountable. Did we get an ISIS-K operative, or did we kill innocents?
The guy the Biden administration droned, was he an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
The administration is, of course, reviewing that strike, and I'm sure that a full assessment will be forthcoming.
So you don't know if it was an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
I can't speak to that, and I can't speak to that in this setting in any event.
So you don't know or won't tell us?
I don't know because we're reviewing it.
Well, see, you'd think you'd kind of know before you off somebody with a Predator drone.
Yeah, one would think. And I want to get one more question and answer in, because you can sort of get the format that Anthony Bliken provides his answers in. This was the day before the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and this was Pennsylvania Rep. Scott Perry going off topic, but to some extent, for some of us, on another interesting topic, asking Blinken if he had been interviewed by the FBI. Listen.
Ask you this. I just have a couple more questions for you. A little off topic here, but I think it's interesting. How long was your recent interview with the FBI, and was it a deposition?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you're referring.
Are you saying that you have not had a recent interview with the FBI since becoming Secretary of State?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, and I'm happy to take that up with you offline.
Did the State Department turn over documents to the FBI related to Hunter Biden, Burisma, and or the Blue State Strategies Corporation?
You'll have to.
So you have no knowledge of this. You have had no. You don't. You are you saying you have not had an interview with the FBI since becoming Secretary of State?
It would not be appropriate for me to comment in a public forum on any legal proceedings that the department.
I'm not asking you to cooperate. I'm not asking you to comment on the legal proceedings. I'm just asking if you've been interviewed by the FBI since becoming Secretary of State.
Again, I'm not going to comment one way or another on any legal proceedings or not that may or may not have happened.
Have you sought to...
Let me remind the gentleman that the topic of this hearing is Afghanistan. That's what we're...
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, but the Secretary generally refuses to answer questions about Afghanistan, so I just figured we'd talk about something he should be intimately familiar with.
Oh. Yeah, why not? If he's not going to answer questions on this, let's get to another topic on which you want to answer questions.
And of course, you blame Trump for everything. Trump set the date, the exit withdrawal, but then they changed
We
it.
inherited a date, not a plan. Yeah, we got the talking point. Scott McKay, publisher of the Hayride, contributor to the American Spectator, joins us now. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Amy.
Morning. Tony Blinken's performance over the last 2 days, about as good as his performances from the podium in the days leading up to and after the withdrawal?
I don't want to call him Tony Blinken anymore. From now on, I want to call him, and I think I'm getting the name right, Emmett Fitzhume. I don't know if you guys remember who Emmett Fitzhume was, but it was Chevy Chase's character in Spies Like Us. And there's a famous scene from that movie when he gets asked about something that he's not supposed to comment on, and he pretends the microphone's not working. And it's actually hilarious.
Right.
That is Tony Blinken. This guy says nothing. He's got the longest no comment answers that imaginable. I guess it's a skill in the State Department to flap your gums and say nothing whatsoever. And that probably is what got him his current job, because there's no evidence of merit of any kind that got him there. This guy is a gas bag, filled with helium or something. He's a total joke.
He looked nervous, and it looked like he was lying yesterday. But at least he showed up for some in-person bipartisan criticism, but he's not doing well.
Well, right. I think it probably just rolls off his back, because I don't know that this guy even, contemplates the fact that he's being made to look like a complete, non-entity. That all his life is just he's floated through situations like this and just not been affected by them.
Well,
I don't think he's a real human being. He's an animatron.
Totally. I completely agree. And there's a lot of that in D.C., cardboard cutout human beings, or, as you say, automatons. But, and it would be fun sport if the situation weren't so serious. And we still don't have a handle on the number of Americans, legal permanent residents, Afghan allies that are there that need to be extracted, and what the plans are for that extraction.
To me, the fact that there is absolutely, no real disclosure here, that suggests to me the situation is so much worse than we can even imagine. It's probably still, many thousands of people that are stuck over there. And, the fact that you hear all these reports about private rescues in and out of Afghanistan, and the State Department is actually, standing in the way of them getting the job done rather than helping. This is going to end up being one of the worst, most egregious scandals in American history when all of it comes out. Well, when people make their way out of the mountains, through the road to Dushanbe and, God knows what else, and end up telling their stories, to newspapers or Fox News or whatever, the whole country's going to look at this and be like, who are these people running our government?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's how it'll play out, that everybody does get out. So, all right. So if Blinken is Chevy Chase and Spies Like Us, then maybe Milley is the Dan Aykroyd character. General Milley, and this book out, the excerpts that were released yesterday, this book from Bob Woodward and Robert Costa, Pentagon officials to pledge an oath to him that there will be no executive action in the direction of war making and access to the nuclear arsenal without his okay. What did you make of what was released yesterday that'll be bandied about by the punditocracy for the next week or so, both in terms of does it ring credible to you, and if true, what should be Milley's fate?
Well, and that's the subject of a piece I've got up at the American Spectator this morning. You don't want to blow too hard about some of these things, but the fact of the matter is I had to rack my brain yesterday after I, saw these reports, thinking of an example since Benedict Arnold gave West Point to the British of a high-ranking American official who came that close to the textbook definition of treason. And I kind of felt like, well, that's a big statement, and I don't know if I really want to make it, but the fact of the matter is I couldn't think of anything that was this bad. What would have happened if, based on Milley's representations to the Chinese, if they would have taken that as a go-ahead to invade Taiwan? We know that they want to. For him to say, well, don't worry, we're not going to attack China. I mean, that wasn't qualified by anything, at least not based on what we've gotten from this book. What if they would have said, okay, this is great. They're in disarray and we can do what we want. I mean, what would the effect of that have been? And I don't think it's too overheated to bring that topic up.
Well, NBC said that Milley allegedly made those comments and made the phone call because they were worried about Trump in his last few days in office, attacking China because of the Wuhan virus, because of COVID.
And of course, this guy apparently follows all the orders that Joe Biden gives him. He thinks Trump was crazy at the end of his presidency. Well, what does he think of Joe Biden?
Yeah.
That's
a good question.
Trump is clearly, more cognitively available than Joe Biden is. And, Milley's going to let Biden tell him to get rid of Bagram Air Base unless he's, seriously going to tell us that was his idea, in which case, okay, so in other words, you're setting up Bagram to be given over to your pals, the Chinese, and it's even worse along the treason scale, right?
There was an interesting op-ed we referenced yesterday from in First Things from a Marine and a Vietnam veteran whose sons also are combat veterans, and his observation after all of the lying of the last several weeks and the I don't even know the words for this performance of leaving Americans behind and continuing to paper over it and to try to cast it as some sort of best we could do accomplishment. He said, for the next time you want to go to war, how about all of the elites, they go to war, and we combat veterans, we military rank and file will just sit back and watch. And my response to that, in part, is, well, that's a modest proposal from a Marine. I certainly get the point. The problem is if we let the elites go to war, from what we're seeing and what is alleged in this book against Milley, there wouldn't be much to watch because they'd negotiate the annexation of the United States by the Chinese communists as a first order of business.
Yeah, exactly. Don't send those guys off to war. You'll see them very soon, and they'll point that rifle right at you. So, the real question is, who of the guy you're talking about, like him and his son, who of these people will agree to go to war for Mark Milley going forward? Who wants to join the military so that these guys can tell you, where to go and what to do?
Yeah.
Does anybody feel like Mark Milley has the back of an American soldier or Marine? Because, I certainly would want to die for him, and I certainly wouldn't want to trust him to give me orders that are, in the best interest of the country, because that's clearly not what Mark Milley does.
The complimentary copy of White Fragility probably not going to be enough to attract those who would otherwise want to serve. I concede your point. Scott McKay, he's the publisher at the Hayride, contributor to the American Spectator. Check out his piece, which I'll tweet out, The Treacherous Depths of Mark Milley, that we were just discussing. Scott, thanks as always. Appreciate it.